be quite long. I am going to go from the very beginning of getting a domain to getting an API call to work through so that I can show you how I develop these proofs of concepts software for the different potential clients. This one in particular is for a Department of Defense contract. So I'm going to dive right in. I am looking at which domain I should get because I have a bunch of domains, but none of them serve the purpose of like how do I showcase in a very professional way, like here's your proof of concept for you to test, and at the same time kind of leverage that people will be tapping into that API that domain name so that I can get, like clicks on that, and so that I can promote products and so that other people can see some of the proofs of concept. And this really stems from one of the videos I recently saw that I'll make a YouTube short for, where the guy is talking about, like, here's your chance to expose your idea. Sure, there's going to be whatever millions of views for that guy, right? For his channel. And yeah, maybe one person will try to steal your idea, but then there will be like 399 million or whatever people that actually want to support your idea. So that is why I decided to go ahead and do it this way so that everybody can see some of the proofs of concepts, what it looks like to go from end to end, why the custom ones are a lot more expensive. And this is already something that is an almost like for sure job. So doing the proof of concept is a good expenditure of time. Because we've already done the market testing to make sure that there is going to be a viable market. By we, I mean myself and my former boss, for my first like real true like AI engineer job, AI architect job. So myself and JP already vetted that this is going to pay out. That is why I'm doing this. So I am looking at aipoc.store, so AI proof of concept.store. The reason I pick these names this way is because when I write the code, the HTML that is actually what gets served to the search engines, then there is where I'm able to denote like that is the purpose of this website. So I can't claim that I have like some scientific research paper, but it's just logical sense, right? So it used to be that you had to have a name that people were likely to search or that they knew your name. So your brand mattered a lot. But it is my professional opinion, using all the math and all the way that like the internet is constructed, everything from the level of like zeros and ones and how those turn into like, binary, well, that is binary, and then how that turns into like the compiler language, right? Like all the way up to like what Python is and what like HTML is and like what it means to use a server-side rendering, blah blah, right? Like this whole huge like big architecture. It is my opinion that branding, yes, it's still critical because it's one way to generate a lot of your traffic, but then you will also have the ability to answer questions directly. So that is why for like about the last year I've been really diving into SERPs. SERPs is the search engine, I don't know, whatever, right? But it's the way that the search engines find you. So in the JSON of the files that I create, I make sure that I have, really clear instructions to the search engines that this would be like AI-POC, which is known as proof of concept. So you're able to put that into your JSON in the JSON LLD. And I don't know to what degree all of the WordPress plugins that you might be able to use like define that, but I know that since I wrote the code myself that does that for all my websites, like I know that mine are like really explicit, so they are so niched down into what that specific page is for, all using AI and automation for like high quality content that is based on existing search trends. Like that is why I am doing this. So if I didn't have that, then I would go about finding websites differently, right? Like if I didn't have that part of my what would you call it, like 1% business or whatever, like already vetted, already like fleshed out, already working, already like in production or whatever you want to call that, like already like in existence, then I would not do it this way. So just know that that is why I'm doing it this way. If I did not have that, I would use data differently. So that is a big part of why the question when people tell me like, hey, I have this $1 billion idea, like, will you partner up with me and work on it? That's why I'm always like really clear. Like I make sure that they're really clear on that. I'm gonna ask you like really specific questions, and I want to see your market research. I want to know that you actually know that it's been vetted, and this is one of those things that matters to me because I want to know, like, are they going to need a way to make sure that the search engines know that they're there if they don't already have like a huge market of followers or whatever, like a list of businesses that are already interested in their product, or a list of like consumers, right? Because why would you? Because that is like step one of being able to make money online, right? Like you have to make sure that you have a way to vet your own ideas or like your potential clients' ideas, because there was one there was one client that asked me to build a website for them to sell satellite dishes like Dish Network, and this was like 2023. It was like early in 2023. No, it was already actually more like August 2023. One of the first people that asked me to build websites for them, and I was like, look, it's not that I don't want to build it for you. It's that I don't think you have a market, and I would have to bill you what I would charge somebody, knowing, looking at the data, that nobody wants that product. Like I was like, it's not that you suck. It's not that you don't have skills. Nothing like that. It's not that the thing isn't buildable, but there is just no data to show that anybody is looking for that. And because he was struggling so bad to find clients, even though he had everything that you could imagine, right? Like here in El Paso, like I just didn't think it was ethical for me to take his money knowing that he was still not going to make any money off of what he was doing. And if it's like somebody with a pie in the sky idea like that, I can help somebody like try to find. So that is what I'm in the business of, right? Is like be findable. So like I do have things in place that will like do the opposite of what a crawler does. So a crawler goes into the internet and then it like, no, I shouldn't say the opposite. So like to put it in a more technical way. So like what I do is I take the HTML and I make sure that when a crawler goes to you, they know exactly what you're there for. I make sure that crawlers do go to you by making sure that I tie trending topics, because it's just the way the algorithms work. Like, like fight it all you want. I don't, whatever, right? So like with those trending topics is the way the algorithm works right now. Right, those trending topics tied into whatever it is that whomever might be selling, using, yes, keywords, but also long tail keywords that are like super niche down to the most likely way that someone on the internet would be asking that question, and then making sure that that all the files are crawled, so that when when people start using search engines that are AI driven search engines more, and as they're also using SEO based search engines like Google, they are very findable, because I'm making sure that these ideas that people are bringing to me are like top of mind if I was a bot on the internet, right? Like there is a way to do that. It's like feeding Pac-Man in reverse. So it's almost like Pac-Man, like pretend that people are, putting out content. People are like trying to sell things, whatever, right? So it's like they're Pac-Man and they're chasing this money bag, right? Because the algorithm changes. So every time that the game resets, like all the little lines start over, and then Pac-Man has to figure out a new path. Well, there's also like, and I'm talking like I have a lot of school behind me, okay, and like a lot of years in this, and like I'm not trying to sound like I'm arrogant. I'm just saying like it would be really hard for me to like compress all of that into like 2 sentences to turn this into a YouTube shorts. That's where I really struggle, is because I don't know, like most people that I think are on my channel have like a sense of technology, but I don't think they have like the full stack deep in the weeds like in the same way. In fact, they must not, because otherwise I wouldn't be getting all these like calls for jobs, right? But like there would be more people getting those calls. But I'm also intelligent enough to know that like I can either go work for $60 an hour, $100 an hour, $200-300 an hour, or I could just build shit that like makes me money while I'm sleeping. Like that's where I'm at. So, what I do is I basically like push the food that Pac-Man is chasing closer to Pac-Man, so Pac-Man is more likely to find it. And that right there should probably be my YouTube short. Like, this is what I do. If you can envision that the internet has always been like that. It's just that now it's even more important to be malleable enough in the way you do things that you can ride the waves of the algorithms. So because of the way that I write all this code, right? Like I'm able to take what I have, and if tomorrow something were to change, it would be like incredibly easy for me to generate content that then keeps up with the algorithms, that is still like the topics that people are searching, that is still relevant, that is still bringing link juice back to like my own domains, right? Because there is such a thing as being able to like manipulate the algorithm that way. And it's not even manipulating it. It's more like if I'm a mechanic and I understand, like the difference between the types of gasoline and how, like what quality of oil I need in order to like maximize the life of my engine, well, I'd be silly to not use the stuff I know for my own clients and my own cars, right? Like that's basically all I'm doing, is just like I'm so familiar with all this stuff academically and in production and for small businesses and for large large businesses and for my own testing that I've been doing over the last year, that like I know that this is on the horizon. So like the even bigger thing, right, is that whether or not you're in the weeds with AI or not, like you probably have, and if not, let me introduce you, because you'll be hearing about it from now till the end of humanity. What about AI autonomous agents? So what are AI autonomous agents? Well, they're basically going to go on the web and do your work for you. So if you think of yourself as Pac-Man, well, imagine your autonomous agents are like 50, 100, 200, 5,000 views that are different Pac-Mans that are going on the web. So if I can push the food to these 5,000 Pac-Mans, you like by riding the waves of these algorithms and the way that technology is built, like the chances of the stuff you want to be being findable increase exponentially, right? So like if I have bots that are looking for like, oh, I want to figure out like, what's one of the ones I have? What's the best medicine for my pet, because my pet like needs something for her lumps, right? And there's all this naturopath stuff, blah blah. Well, my blog post on pets, right? Like they all have stuff related to that. They all have stuff to like the latest things that people are looking for. So when the bots that do your autonomous agent work for you go out and look for like, oh, like my I don't know what we're gonna be called, my human asked me to go find them the best medicine for our pet, right? So like so these websites came up, right? Like the chance of being one of those websites that the bots find, are way higher if you're speaking their language. Does that make sense? So like, because I'm putting all of this into the JSON, LLDs, which you can ask ChatGPT, like, what's a JSON LLD? And it'll spit it out for you. It'll tell you how to do it for your own websites, right? But the stuff that I'll go into the weeds, and I guess I'll turn this into 2 videos. I'll make this one about like the introduction to why this is like not just a simple question. When people ask me like, can you build this app for me? Yes, but there's so much that goes into it. That's why it gets expensive, and that's what I'm trying to like automate, so that I can more quickly iterate through this and like make it less costly for people that ask me, so that they can tell right away, like, I do have the funds for this, I need to raise the funds for this, I need help raising the funds for this, like sign up lists, things like that, because it's gonna get easier to make money online if you are able to reach the right people. Right? So like I was watching the video, that YouTube shorts where that guy's going around saying like, present your idea. There's going to be, excuse me, it's going to be 10 million people that are going to see this video. Okay, but those 10 million people might not be the ones that want to find out about hitchhiker apps, right? Like that is not, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, in my professional opinion, it's not even humble. It's like, this is fucking like, so, to me, it's like Captain Obvious kinds of stuff, right? But like it might not be. And like to me, it's hard it was hard to keep my shoelaces tied in boot camp, and I got in trouble for that when I was in the Navy. So like what's obvious to me is usually the reverse of what's obvious to others, and vice versa. But to me, it's like very obvious. Like just because I reach 10 million people, that doesn't mean those are the right people. I would rather reach 300 people that are already active hitchhikers that might have no interest in being on YouTube, watching videos about a guy that goes around asking people for their ideas. That's not to knock the guy that's got the 10 million views, right? Like that also is very powerful. But if you can get the combination of both, like isn't that the ideal world? That's why they're talking about micro influencers, because this isn't just my crazy idea. And in fact, in this moment is when I'm realizing that's why they really want micro influencers, right? Excuse me, like if I think about it from the business side, who cares if you have, like, I don't know, like a super duper influencer? Like who cares if Mr. Beast followers watch your videos, right? If it's a bunch of children that can't buy the spectacles that someone that is in their 50s needs to be able to read closer. Like, who cares if there's 10 million children watching that? Like, they're not your market, right? But if I'm 50 and I have, like, good data and I have, like, proof and I have, like, trials and I've tried all these glasses and I have, like, 500 other 50-year-olds that are like, I need glasses too. Like, that's who I want to target, right? So that is why I decided to go about this route, which is not something that I've seen anybody else do. That's why it's my IP. It's like my intellectual property, but anybody can produce it. And will GPT-5 or Llama or whatever, or Claude, whoever your favorite is, like, will they eventually like do this? I genuinely don't think so, because I think that this is like API calls, which even Sam Altman has talked about, right? Like when he's been interviewed. Like if my business is built on top of like trying to improve what GPTs are doing, right? I'm probably going to fail. But if I'm in the business of doing something that improves every time GPT improves, then I'm in a pretty good position. And that is what I'm doing. So I am not trying to be in the business of making a better model or even fine-tuning. Even in their API documentation, it says like fine-tuning is kind of like outdated, and I don't really want. That's why I'm not interested in finding another job, because I'm going to start to fall behind the technology if I spend my days like working on something in a way that, like, number one, doesn't let me code using AI, because most of these interviews are like, no, you can't use AI to like show us you know how to code it. To me, that's like, so you want me to show you that I can drive a car starting from the point of knowing how to change out a tire at this point, right? Like, no, like if I was planning on being employable in 3 years even, right? Like, I would say, like, I need to show that I know what to do when a self-driving car has a tire that goes out. Not, can I drive a car and switch out the tire? And it's not even just luck. I've been positioning myself in this place where I could take time off of like a regular job to like dive into being a vendor, so that I could build code in the way that I have already seen it's the writings on the wall. Like, I could get a job that's going to pay me really well for the next few months, but then I'll be back on that hamster wheel of like, oh, like the like they replace me. I replace myself with my own automation, which is what I used to do. So I'm fine with like being replaced by automation. In fact, like, it was a very humbling experience, right? Like, I already went through that whole like, oh my God, like I'm basically like a pointless human being. Then to like in terms of all this technology stuff, like, sure, I'm okay with that now, like I am excited about not having to do anything, because the AI is going to do it for us. Like, I'm so excited about that, because then I get to spend all day playing with my dogs and like, like my future partner or whatever. So I think that this video is long enough. I'm sure that, well, I'm going to put this into CapCut and see if there's a way to just highlight the important points. And there is a space for where what I'm talking about should exist somewhere in my content. I'm just having a hard time, like, I guess, knowing how to wrap this in a nice, tidy presentation, because it doesn't exist much. So how do I show you, I don't know how to show you. But I think that the Pac-Man analogy, and then the whole, like, I think that that's probably the best analogy. So I will post this video as part of like one of the like AI as it rolls out kinds of things, because keep in mind that it might all change tomorrow. I've been testing that this isn't gonna just kind of like go up in smoke once like the LLMs or whatever, like the neuro symbolic AIs, whatever like is ends up being the tech. Like, I don't think it's gonna affect this because again, this is like too far from them, but still close enough to local businesses to where it can make an impact. And I am not about me. I'm a female. I don't care if I make an impact in the world. Like, like I care about taking care of my family, and my family is my 3 dogs, and like that's just the way my life is right now, and yeah, like I'm not trying to make an impact. I am trying to fulfill my life's mission, which is to bring dog kind closer to mankind. And within that is like, I want to make sure that I do things that help dogs live longer. But to get to work on that, I know that I need to have like a recurring revenue model that doesn't require as much of my attention and lets me focus everything that I'm learning from that on how to find the right veterinarians that want to do some of the stuff that I've been researching or looking into, right? Because that takes effort, and that's where I want to spend my time making phone calls, and that's where I want to spend my time like listening to what details they have to give about why or why not or what not, right? Like, that is my ultimate goal. So it's not but I also do care about the local businesses, because I live right next to Mexico, like literally, like I can see it from my yard. I grew up like a 5-minute walk from the river, and actually, interestingly enough, my great uncle, I think it was my great uncle, yeah, it was my and the family before him, they donated the national park, like literally the national park that is adjacent to the American park side in El Paso, to the country of Mexico. And so like, I'm the product of like, my grandpa left his family of 20 years and all his children and stuff to go marry the maid, and they had a bunch of kids, and one of those kids was my mom. And he got cut out of like all of that, and like, I don't agree with cheating on spouses or like abandoning them. I've never had a spouse, right? So like I can't claim that I would understand that, but I feel like, okay, they that's in my blood, like that's just like that, like my my ancestors already made enough of an impact in the world. So having lived next to Mexico that closely, and obviously still having a bunch of family there, like seeing what not having a small businesses that are thriving does to a community is brutal. Like the first world, third world with no middle class is crazy brutal, and it's really hard to even now, even though we still have like middle class, like my biological family, like like the people that raised me or whatever, right? Like those, like like my parents and my sibling and stuff, like they're middle class. And even me switching my life to this, from being a teacher to being someone who's like way more self-sufficient and like basically made it to the other side of the tracks, has caused like such a big rift for me. Like, I can't go back there just because like I can't. Like stuff that to me is like incredibly dangerous and not a good idea for my professional reputation, let alone like a lot of decisions are very different in the way I make them than the way that they make them, right? And that's living in a country where we still have a very solid middle class, and they still do quite well because my sister's a teacher, my parents do well for themselves, even as retired people. But like, not having solid small businesses does that to a country. So, or to a community, right? So like, if there aren't any small business veterinarians, I can't go to Banfield, where my dogs go right now, and ask those veterinarians like, hey, can you do this for me? Because it would be against their like what they signed up for to keep their jobs and keep their livelihood and get to be veterinarians. This probably sounds like I'm rambling, but I'm just trying to like drill in the point that like, you have to be able to make money. The way we make money is changing dramatically. Like, I can see it in the way the internet works and the way like the job types that I'm getting and stuff, right? Like jobs are collapsing into like where you'd better be okay with automating yourself out of a job, because if you're not, like, you're gonna be hard pressed, like in terms of your self-esteem. It really affects your self-esteem. Like it's brutal if you're a first world country. And then the impacts that it has on the quality of life of the people around you and the people you care about, like, are even more magnified. So you want to be on the side of the fence where, like, you're like, okay, I accept that, and like this is the way right now, because tomorrow things might change, and like all these robots might fall out of the sky, and like suddenly like we get to just sit around and they'll like tap into our brains and play video games through our souls or whatever, like there's so many like variations of what could happen. And I'm sure a lot of gamers would be really excited and like don't even have to like get up to like go drink water anymore, like they get like they're just basically like a veggie that just gets to play in the metaverse. Like, to each his own, right? Because a lot of us think that that's kind of what we're doing right now. We're just like driving these like animated corpses. So anyway, now I'm really like off in the weeds, but I'm gonna separate these into two videos. I'm gonna turn what I just talked about into like I guess the background behind like why I pick these websites the way that I do. So I'm gonna stop this video right here, and then I'm gonna start the next video, which is like the end-to-end actual technical side. All right. I can't find the stop button. I'm gonna have to use CapCut.